Hello everyone. I am going to do a fairly long video today about some of the stencils that I have. So one of my goals this year on my YouTube is to have a little bit more how-to videos on my channel that really showcase certain stencils and how to use them, because I do get a lot of DMs and questions on how I use certain ones. And so I thought it would be helpful to have specific stencils on the channel so people can just go and reference a video that helps them use something that they're thinking of purchasing or they've purchased, and they want to know all the different ways to use it. So today's video is going to be about a lot of my journaling stenciling, or my journaling stencils, I should say. So I have, just so many here. And we're not going to use them all, but I wanted to kind of show you some of the main ones and how I use them in terms of creating more of a planner style. So a lot of people ask me in my other journals where I'm just free form writing, what do you write about? I feel intimidated about writing. I want to write my journals, but I don't know how or feel comfortable just free form writing. So this video is going to tackle some of that kind of hesitation for people and break it down into other ways that you can write in your journal, but maybe not feeling like I have to write a paragraph. So I wanted to show you my earlier journals. These are very large. I was using Dilutions journals, and I was playing a lot with journaling in kind of larger spaces. So a lot of these are some of my journaling stencils that I have created where you can fill in spots. There's already lines on there. And these kinds of ways to use some writing, but not a whole bunch, are fun because it's not intimidating. You know, you're just putting a quote somewhere. So this one I was using to create like a planner. So I was running through different shapes and doing more of a planner style. And so, you know, that is another way that I was using a lot of my journaling. I would combine it with art too, but the size was so big. Anyway, so over the years, I've developed a whole bunch of ways that I like to use my journaling stencils in my journals on a much smaller, more contained scale. So what I did is I broke it up in at least like 4 or 5 different ways for you to journal, and use some of the stencils that you may have purchased or have from my product line. So the main one in the video that I'm going to share with you is this one. I think it's called Journaling Stencil. I should know by now, but I have so many I forget the names. But it's an 8.5 by 11, so I designed it in case you wanted to use something big, and I needed it to be bigger because some of these, I usually do like 6 by 6, but a lot of these shapes you couldn't fit multiples on a 6 by 6, so I needed to do a bigger grid. And so it's these two, which are going to be kind of shown quite a bit in this book. So one of the first ways that I like to incorporate art in journaling is in goal setting. So again, you know, I'm taking this stencil and I'm going through and I'm setting up a page with some squares. I know that for this spread here, I want to talk about my weekly goals. So I have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I have like Friday, Saturday, Sunday here. So I have set my boxes up on my page, and then I can then go back and add, you know, some really pretty artistic elements as well. So I like to incorporate collage, watercolor, a lot of my paper doll figures, whatever I have. And this is a fun way to set up journal pages, because if you want to do something like use your journal, you know, in an artful way to get you inspired for goal setting, this is a great place to start. And, you know, for me, a lot of the goal settings are things that everybody probably has very similar goals. Like, I hate cooking for my family. I mean, I used to love cooking, but my kids are at the picky stage, so I tend to order food more often than I should. So one of my goals is to come up with weekly meals that everybody loves, that I can make really easy. So I have planned all my different meals on here. And then I have some of my fitness goals. And, you know, I had spinal surgery when I was 16. And so I have to be physical, otherwise my body will pay the price. And so sometimes I have to remind myself, like, okay, today is the day where you're doing your walking or you're doing your biking, because if I don't put it down, I might put it off or something like that. So the power of putting that down helps my back tremendously, because it's getting the exercise that it needs. You know, things like taking vitamins, whatever it is that you want to focus on. You know, some people might want to set aside 30 minutes to read at night. I need to be in bed by 10, taking vitamins. There's so many wellness practices that I feel like we neglect. And so having a place where you can write your goals down, the things that you put off taking care of for yourself, you can put in here. And it could be like meeting with a friend, calling your college kid. It could be anything, any kind of goals that you have that you feel like you might struggle to remember to get done. If you put it down, there's so much power in that, writing something down. It feels like you're really committing to do something for yourself. And I always have inspiring quotes, because at least with anything, but goals especially, like, you should never beat yourself up if you don't get to goals as well, because obviously, it's about doing it more than not doing it. So, you know, every little step makes a difference. So I always try to have like an encouraging goal phrase in there if I'm doing some kind of goal setting. The next way, to use some of these is to create a planner, like a weekly planner. And in this case, what I did, I realized that these are 8.5 sheets by 11, folded in half. So this half of the stencil can go perfectly on one side of the paper, and you can get at least 6 days out of it. So I have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then I have Saturday and Sunday combined here. And then on this side, I'm able to take these stencils and put them here for, you know, writing down what I'm grateful for this week, any kind of highlights, anything that's fun that happened or, you know, made me excited. And again, it's never profound, you know, like organizing my closet. That was a highlight of the week. Being able to get outside with my children on one of the warm days that we had was awesome. You know, it's kind of forcing me to stop in my day and remember, like, oh, what was fun that we experienced this week. So weekly calendars are a great way to use any of the journaling stencils, and I'll get to some of the other ones because they'll work for that too. But again, creating calendars in different ways is a really fun way to use the stencils. So I was doing it in this big book for a long time. but now I'm doing it much smaller. So creating weekly planner style pages is another great way to use some of these stencils. And I also have a lot of stencils that are designed for writing. So I think this is called Lines for Journaling. Again, I could be wrong. And these are set up so that you have literal lines on just about everything where you could write. So you can write words on this sunset. You have a circle here that has a great space for writing, or I like to do quotes. This one I used here, and I wrote some inspiring quotes. These also have a lot of borders, which are fun to do around your pages. So I think I took this border. Oh no, it's right here. This is from Enchanted Forest, but I put some journaling borders in here because it's fun to decorate your pages with borders. It takes the edge off. When there's a border and you are facing a blank page, if you start with some borders in the corners, it really kind of gets you going. And then I kind of mixed up what I wrote on. So I also have another stencil called Journal Fun, I believe. It might be Journal Templates. And this one has tabs, like 4 different tabs, and then it has 2 different tags. So you can put them on any paper, cut it out, and turn it into a tag, punch a hole, and that's fun to write on. And then the tabs are here, so those are fun to add to your journals. I use these in my Jaya Junk style journals, so it is fun to make your own tabs. So you can put them on any kind of cardstock and cut things out, and then you have tags. I think I did a video on Instagram this week. I'm trying to see where I put them. I think I put them, I have all my drawers here. Yeah. So I made a bunch of tags this week on my Instagram with the little tags from the kit. So you just trace things, and it's great for the scraps of paper. You know, if you have scraps of paper, you put a tag on it and you can turn them into anything. You know, you can make a book with tags. You can use it as a quote. You can put photos on there. So just like another fun way to play with some of these stencils. And, you know, obviously writing, I love writing on the people stencils or shape stencils. I will use those for writing. It's really fun. And another way to use journaling stencils is for gratitude journaling. So I have a stencil that goes with the first one. Let me get this out again, where it has lists. So again, this is great for weekly planning where you want to write appointments that you need to remember or things you need to get done, a list that I'm a big list maker. I love to check things off my list. So this is really fun to use. And I love the flags, like the little banners. Those are so fun to add to your journaling. And here I just wrote out like some samples of things that are, you know, really important to my health and well-being, and that I'm grateful for. So other ways, again, things that are really important for me is really positive language and quotes. And so any of my word quotes that you see from me, they're all going to have words that are either geared towards getting you appreciative, grateful, part of your journey. All these things are great for journaling. You know, what you did today, that's great for a planner. My plan, that's great for a planner. Abundance, that's great for gratitude journaling. All of these are great prompts. And again, always mixing up like positive things like move forward, growth, routine, new. Those are also good for planning. Love, hope, future, connection. Again, all of these are great to have in this kind of journaling. So reset, soul, rooted, I could go on and on. And so I have about 3 or 4 different sets of words. So I will always mix those into my journaling. And the cool thing with a lot of them is you can stencil them on with acrylic paint, which is what I do most of the time. And you can stencil it right onto your page, or you can stencil them onto scraps of paper and have them at the ready for when you want to maybe glue them into your art journal, because it's nice to have layers. So I'm constantly putting these down on paper. Here's some more. And just having them at the ready so I can maybe go back and add them to my journals. And they're always encouraging. They're always either a nice encouraging quote or something that would be relevant to journaling about your everyday or your life. So, you know, I love to have those on hand. So again, I might stencil onto the page or on a separate piece of paper. And another thing I've recently discovered is that if you use, most artists in the community, you'll see a lot of people use these Sakura microns. They're one of the best permanent markers out there, but they come in all different thicknesses. The lines come in different thicknesses. And if you are to grab like an 01 or an 005, these are really thin lines. You can actually trace the words out with the thin markers through the stencil. So I will do that often to either outline it. So like here, you know, I might stencil it in acrylic, but then I can go through with my thin micron and outline it this way, which looks really awesome. And when you outline stuff, it just, it looks a little more finished, which I think is cool. But then I'll do the outline and then I'll come back and fill it in. So like here, I outlined it first and then I came back and I filled it in with a gel pen. So like a metallic gel pen. So that's kind of cool too. Like here, I traced the word grateful from one of my stencils. And again, I just came back in with the Uniball Signo pen and filled it in. So there's different ways to use the stencils as well in terms of writing them down and trying them out. So one of the other things that I'll do when I'm creating my spreads is I like to put borders. So if I stencil this color down, I will go around it in the microns. And I thought if we have time, I'd just do a sample of how I like to do that. Sometimes I will use watercolors and do it on a piece of paper first and then cut it out, or put it directly on the paper, depending on the stencil. So what I'm going to use is this big journaling stencil here. And I'm going to move this stuff out of the way. What I like to use is any kind of slippery paper. I just use, you could use like wax paper if you want or anything. I use labels, the label sticky back, because I'm shipping all the time. I save these and I use it for my paint. So I think I'm going to use white if there's any left in here. And you can use any paint, it doesn't matter. And this is called a Ranger mini blending tool. And this is a domed foam. You can find them all kinds of places. Ranger Ink makes them, so it's definitely on their site, but just about any craft site will have these. People ask me all the time, and I'm shocked that people are just discovering them because they've been around for ages and they're just so awesome. And then what I like to do is put my stencil down and I will just swirl the mini blending tool around the stencil. So I'm using some pattern paper here, which is going to kind of make my white very muted. So I could do a couple of coats if I want, but in this case, I don't really mind so much because it's a little bit lighter. You can kind of see it. And when this dries, again, I can go over this with my marker and outline it so you'll see it, which I'll show you in a sec. But I need it to dry, so we'll do another one. And I love using this. This is one of my favorite stencils, this bloom here. I love that it's long and linear. Now, any kind of botanical stencil that you see that has like this kind of shape or has points, when you're stenciling, you want to go with the points. You don't want to go against the points, because if you go like this, you're going to pick them up and you're going to damage your stencil, but paint's going to get under them. So if I were to go like this, this is going to pick it up and not be so nice. And a good way to use these kinds is to kind of dapple what I'm doing here. I'm kind of stippling or kind of dappling. You can go like this too, but you get a better outcome if you just tap it. Now, I have these microns, so I might move up to like an 05 and outline them. So I outline everything freehand, but if you're a real stickler and you want it to be more perfect, you can go back in and, you know, put your stencil there and just trace it, right? So that's one way to do it real fast. But I add some extra lines and make it wonky on purpose. I just think it looks a little bit more organic and it gives it a little bit more depth, and it's just a little more illustrative, I guess. Looks a little more like literally like it's been sketched, right? And again, like you could do this freehand, which honestly for this floral one, I think is a better option because these pieces do move about. But again, I'm not going to be too worried. I definitely am not a perfectionist, so I never try to get anything to look super perfect. It's just not my style. And I imagine most people aren't perfect, so it's kind of the more friendly way to go. And it doesn't matter because, again, once you outline it, you really kind of change the meaning to what's there. When you add some extra lines, it just looks more intentional, and it has a little more interest. So that's that. And then again, you can go back in and do your writing. I like to add some Posca paint pens, you know, and I start playing with doodling because that's a big thing for me. So I might add some doodles and color to my bloom. But I wanted to share some of these different journaling stencils because I just put a video on my Instagram, a real quick one, and I mean, I got so many questions, so many DMs, and a lot of people scooped up a whole bunch. So I just thought it would be handy to have a more in-depth video of how I like to use all the different journaling stencils, because I have a lot in my product line, because I'm going to put that there so it doesn't smear, because I'm so passionate about it. So there's just so many ways to journal in addition to just free form writing. But one of the questions I get asked the most, aside from do you wash your stencils, which no, I don't, is I wish I could write, but I don't write. And my thinking is there are ways to include writing when you have a little help and you have a little spot where you only have to write so much, or you could write a list, or you could write a quote. These are ways to add writing to your journal, and that's why I have so many of these different stencils in my shop. So in the description for this video, I'll have all the links to the different ones that I shared, and that could be good for journaling. I mean, any of the word and quote ones, those are always great. But there are so many fun ones that I have. I didn't even show this one, which is like one of my top favorites. This is Moonlight Journaling. And in this one, I have faces that are half faces for the side of your page, so you can align them on the side of your page. But it also has these floral features that you can trace and then put words in. It has these wonky lines that you can trace and then do writing in them. For people who don't want a ton of like super structure. And again, like this one with, I'm probably mixing them all up now, but the journal templates, it's got the tags, which are so fun, like making your own tags and tabs with the B. How fun is that to add to your stenciling? It even has mini envelopes, border pictures, that kind of thing. So they really are set up for that kind of person who wants something but doesn't know how to add it. So you've got some lines, and this is, you know, your allotted space. You don't have to write a huge paragraph. You could just write a quote, and you got some words in your journaling, and creating those spaces is fun. So I hope I gave you some ideas on how to use some of these stencils and how to create your own journals, because they do get asked about this a lot. This is one of the questions I got asked a lot. So I just thought I'd put a little sample book together so you could come up with some inspiration to maybe trying your own journaling.